Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer. Our guest today is Heather Jean. She is the owner of Confidence Through Cabaret. So let's start there, Heather. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us what it is that you do in your business?
Yeah, well, thank you for the welcome. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be able to share the whole kind of confidence journey, which is what Confidence Through Cabaret is about. So it's about uplifting your momentum and your expectations and your abilities to be able to feel confident in your personal life, your work life, and your stage life. And I realize they're not separate things, they're all your life. But when we're not feeling confidence in some areas of our life, it affects our confidence in other areas of our life. So we look at where we have confidence and where we feel good, either that's in our body or that in our materials or whatever it is, and we start from where we're strong and we look for where we can transfer that energy to other areas of our life where we have less confidence and where we want to grow our confidence.
So you made a really valid point. And as business owners, a lot of us have an awareness at some point on our journey that what we're experiencing in our non-business areas of life do spill over and vice versa. So what we're talking about here, and I love your squeaky toy going on in the background. We'll just let that roll. That's confidence for you, right?
I made a point of removing the squeaky toy before we started recording. And there is another one in the room, and I'm just going to go with it because I used to actually really worry about perfection and how's it going to appear and what will people think, and people aren't going to like me, which was a really important thing for me. And now I'm kind of like, what is perfectly imperfect? I have a dog. I love my dog, and he keeps finding the squeaky toys right at the moment of recording. So we're doing squeaky toys.
I think it's a fantastic demonstration of what we're talking about here, because how many people are holding themselves back because of perfectionism and a lack of confidence, and my makeup's not right, so I can't record this piece of content. Somebody's not going to think that I am an expert on this topic because they know me from my past, and therefore it's not safe for me to put that out into the world on social media or out there in a bigger way. And so we're always holding ourselves back because of these confidence issues and these old limiting beliefs. Now, when you're helping your clients, what are you doing to help them to bridge that gap? So to see those areas where they do have more confidence and then pull that energy into the other areas in their life.
Yeah. I love that question. And I think, sometimes when we're at play and sometimes when we're in our creative flow, that's when we can start to recognize where beliefs are coming up, where our inner saboteur is jumping in, where, all kinds of different programming is coming up and so on. And so that's where the cabaret part comes in. So cabaret is my hobby. I am a burlesque and aerial dancer, and I do professionally perform, but it is a hobby. And so I use that analogy of cabaret and my learnings from there. And that's where the play comes in, because it's important that we are expansive and not just, standing how we're supposed to stand. Like, you can go on media training. I've been through it all, and you can learn the gestures and you can learn the movements and so on, or you can do it naturally and authentically because it's coming from within. And so I love to explore what's coming out. And when we play with movement, when we play with, just even taking up space where you are, I mean, that's where I started. It is just here. Just that was uncomfortable. And yet I would run large corporate conferences and, you know, speak without a mic for several days and hold space, because I could do that in my work persona, because that was very well rehearsed. And I knew that I knew what I was talking about. And I knew that I could draw attention to my material and not to me, or at least that was the illusion I liked to tell myself.
Mhm.
So when I started realizing that the difficulty for me was in showing up without that work material and taking up and owning space, that's where I found oh, I'm not okay with other people not being okay with me. And they were always okay with my material because that was what I was brought in to do, and I put in the work, and I knew what I was talking about. But as me personally, there were some barriers. And once I found those through movement and through dance and through play, that's when I started to realize, actually, I can be genuinely free and not in this compartment or in this way. So that's when I got to let go of a lot of control. That's when I got to, you know, get into the perfectly imperfect and really understand what that means. That's when I got to be able to feel my flow of, you know, when am I in the doing and the masculine energy, or when am I in the feminine energy of creativity and intuition and just letting things kind of flow. And so we do exercises and activities. We get into the mirror. I ask people to move across the room. So if I said to you to like walk across the room and feature your favorite part of your body, right? And really, like, let's say it was your hair, because that's easy on camera. So, you know, you would be featuring it and you would flick it and you would play with it and you would, you know, kind of be expansive in it. What part of your body would that be? Now, you don't have to name that. I'm not trying to call you out, but have a think about what part of your body that would be. And then think about the part of your body where you maybe want to hide a little bit more. For me, it was always my stomach. I have children and gravity and, you know, stretching and all kinds of things going on there. And so, but to walk across and enter a space and take up space and feature that part of your body in the same way as you would feature whatever your favorite part was, it's difficult, right? It's hard to want to go, yes, let's say it was my hands, because again, that's easy with the camera. It's hard if I'm not comfortable with my hands and I keep them, you know, kind of hidden, or, you know, sit on them or whatever, then it's hard to feature them. And so we start to get into that, and then that brings up quite a lot of emotion. And that allows us to really kind of explore some of the beliefs or what it is that's limiting us. And so for me, you know, going on a stage, it's about my age, it's about my fitness, it's about all kinds of different things. And then I get to dive into that and play with it. And so I do that with others as well, around where is it that you're not feeling genuinely expansive and accepting and loving of yourself as you are, because that's where your limitations are going to come up.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
When we are identifying those things that we've been hiding from ourselves, there's still an awareness of those insecurities, but we've gotten pretty good at pushing them away and distracting ourselves from them. Or we might get into this cycle of beating ourselves up over it, and then we just sort of give up to our disempowerment in that area of our life, and then it just keeps getting triggered over and over and over again. So we're not actually healing it properly. We're not integrating that part of ourselves, and we're not able to grow from that if we don't do the inner work.
Exactly.
So,
and that affects your results. You know, like a lot of people sort of say, yeah, so you're really a mindset coach. And I consider myself a career and visibility coach on my coaching side of my business. because that limits your career, that limits the results that you expect for yourself. That for some people can limit, whether you even apply for a job, if that's where you're going for promotion. Certainly in running your own business, it will limit, because how you show up in your, what I call stage life, your social media or wherever you're showing up for your audience, your webinars or whatever it is, then, how you raise your voice, how you carry yourself affects how you raise your voice. And that will affect the message that you share, and that will affect the connection with your audience, and that will affect your results.
I love that. It does absolutely tie in to what business owners are bumping up against, and ways that we each as individuals can start to face some of those fears, doubts, and insecurities, which in many cases we interpret to be just something that's not good enough about ourselves. I'm not confident enough. I'm not charismatic enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not a good speaker. I don't come up with creative content. There's so many excuses that are what I always refer to as those surface level things.
Yeah.
So,
there's symptoms of what your deeper beliefs are, right? And until you tackle those, you can't expect to get the results that you want from them.
when you're seeing your clients go through this process, what are you noticing? So is there an obvious transformation? Does it seem like it's more subtle? Do they start to become a little bit more confident and assertive in the actions that they're taking? What are some of the things that you're seeing?
So very often, if somebody says, let's say, for example, I want to start a podcast, I give them a deadline, and it's a really short deadline, like this week. It's very short, because that's something that's very simple to do. It's not simple to do it perfectly. It's not simple to do it, have it all figured out, but it's certainly something simple to launch. A Facebook group as well. You could do that in an hour. I'll call you back. It's like, so I do, if somebody says that's what I want to do or be able to do, somebody says, I want to be better at public speaking. I'll say, well, let's go live now. Like, let's do it. Now, I don't push people to the point where they have anxiety, but if they're telling me that they want to be able to do it, and what's interesting is, as soon as they've done it, they've gone, well, it wasn't that bad. I don't know what the fuss was all about. Yeah, there's a ways to go, and yeah, there's things. So we start to focus more on what is working. It's a bit like a gratitude practice. We focus on what we do have, and where we are at, and what we can control, and we let the rest go. Like, having the audience for your podcast, that's not today's thing, right? That's for later. So we control what we can. So I find that people's mindset shifts more to what can I do or influence. And the other big shift is that oftentimes, especially if we're someone who shrinks, or we're someone who's hiding from our own selves, then learning to celebrate success is so important, like so important. And so I had somebody the other day who had a big problem, and it was business affecting, and they did what they could, and it didn't work out. And I said, okay, so we have to stop. And the first thing we have to do, and then, yeah, I know I'm going to have to celebrate, but I don't see anything good in this. It didn't work well. Okay, but you did it. Like, let's start there. Let's start really simple with the facts. And that's where, for a lot of us, not all of us, but that's for a lot of us where our imposter syndrome comes up, because we're so good at internalizing the negative things, and we're not actually internalizing the positive things. The more we can internalize that positive, the more we can celebrate what we are doing and how we are showing up and what we are able to influence and take action on, then the more momentum we can get. And that's where confidence starts to really kind of move forward in a positive way.
I've noticed in my many years of working as a hypnotherapist that a lot of people will say, well, I lack confidence. I need more confidence, as though confidence is something that you just are like born with.
Yeah. Or
But
something you can go to the confidence store and get.
yes, right. But really, it is a process of building momentum. So certainly you can start to get that momentum going, but then it's the actions that actually reinforce and build on that momentum. And people become more confident the more they have practiced something, the more proficient they become at something. So you don't see someone who's never played baseball just get out there with full confidence that they are going to perform at an elite level. Now, they may have more confidence than someone else, and that is what allows them to get up and to be teachable and to go for it. Whereas someone who keeps telling themselves the same old story, I'm not confident, is not even going to get up to bat. So that's where that initial confidence comes in. It's like you need enough confidence to at least take the first step, but then the confidence is going to build from actually doing the thing.
Yeah. Yes. And I start with entertaining the idea. So if you were going on stage and you were going to perform cabaret, what kind of cabaret would you perform? So I'm presupposing that you're going to perform cabaret, and what kind, and I'm letting you pick. So what you do know about being on a stage is that you can't hide in the dark corner. You have to step into the spotlight. What you do know is that you need to be able to reach everybody in the audience. So you need to be not hiding your, or shrinking. If you're going to be singing or you're going to be dancing, you got to raise your voice, whatever that tool is. And so just even getting the idea of, oh, well, if I was going to, then I would do this. Okay. And then what would that be like? And, really kind of taking people through that realization of, okay, that's actually a possibility in a fantasy world. And I'd like to be able to do that. And then the how to, that's an easier shift, because I've already acknowledged and believed that that's something I would enjoy.
Yes. Yeah. Important first step. When the mind does not have a frame of reference for something because we have not created it in the mind, that's where we go into overwhelm. That's where we don't move forward because we don't even know where we're going.
No. And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that then we could start trying all these different things. So let's say you're starting an online business and you go, okay, I'm going to start a group and I'm going to put some posts up and I'm going to put some lives up and I'm going to do all the, and then, see, it doesn't work. You have to have a frame of reference. And there are lots of coaches, thankfully, that can help you with the how-to of each of those things and more. But you have to want to do it first. The motivation, the willingness to put energy into it has to be there in the first instance. So what is it? That's why anytime somebody's talking about, building a business, you need to know what your values are. You need to know what your why is. You need to know what your niche is. You need those things that, everybody's heard that. And some of us do it to a better extent than others. But, if we're not fully putting into that, then how do we know exactly what our target is? How do we really understand what the game is?
So let's pivot a little bit, because I would love to hear from you as a business owner. What is something that you've had to overcome in your own mindset to get to where you are?
Yeah, I think many. This is going to be a long podcast. My main one is around the realization that I am not my role or my labels. So if you've ever tried to introduce yourself without using, like, I'm a mom, or I'm a business person, or I'm a coach, or I'm a baseball fan, or whatever, we're not our labels. And I spent at least 20 years of having my own business, working with consultants and working with corporate clients. I mean, big clients. And I had to be the I am, right? I'm this and I'm that, and I'm qualified and I've got this and I've got, and actually I lost sight of who I am. And then in 2019, I had a lot going on in my own personal life, which is always a struggle. If your personal life is falling down around you, it's always a struggle. But I seamlessly held together my business, at least my business persona and image, and made it look like nothing was going on. But I was a full-time carer for my late husband who had Alzheimer's. My children were leaving home, so I was quickly becoming an empty nester. So my whole identity kind of was shifting. And then in 2019, my late husband passed away unexpectedly, and my last child left home, and all of these kind of things. And I thought, oh, I haven't got any labels anymore. Like, I don't know about these new labels. And so I took a really conscious effort to not really get into, let me become now this person where I'm an empty nest mom, and with grown children, and I'm a widow, and I decided very strongly that I needed to get to know me, and what do I want, and what aligns with me. And that was such an important step. Because if we don't have that, then again, we're at some point is going to come back to bite you. So, you can do the fake it till you make it to a point, but it's going to come out somewhere along the line. Maybe not in your work results, maybe not in your business success, but it will come out somewhere. And so for me, once, because 2019 was a horrific year, and then COVID, and I'm an extrovert, right? I draw energy from being with people. So that's a nightmare. And so I really took that time to kind of think about, who am I? Rather than what am I, or how do I describe myself? And that was a huge shift for me, because then I was able to change my business to align with what it is that I want out of it and how I want to serve others.
That's powerful. A lot of people go through their own version of these types of identity crises. And it is a really great opportunity for us to take a step back and really reflect more inward. Who am I is so much more meaningful than what am I? Because the what I am can change very, very quickly.
Yeah, mine did overnight.
But who you are is the foundation that everything else is built on.
Yeah. It's a tough question. It's a simple question to set. The other thing that the other question for me that I work through and I need to continue working through it, because it's easy to let go. If you haven't done the who am I for a while, go back and do it again, because it's something that you need to keep repeating. The other one is, how do I feel? So I kept myself extremely busy. So I had 4 children. I had a business. I traveled constantly. I managed a rugby team. I kept myself so busy, as well as my dancing, as well as being a carer, as well. And then I would fall into bed at night. And the reason that I found out later on, because I loved it all, but the reason that I was doing that was because I didn't like that question, how do I feel? So I never had to ask that question, how do I feel? Because I was busy and I was loving everything that I was doing. And so I was able to avoid any feelings. And so again, if you want to be whole and you want to be able to feel that confidence in your personal life, work life, and stage, like in terms of everywhere you show up, then you have to address those areas where we're not so strong. And not just keep building on the areas where we are strong, especially if that's a business and we're making money and this seems to be going well and we're ticking boxes. That's great. But where else do you want confidence? What transferable strategies can you use in those areas? And for me, the big questions were, who am I and how do I feel? And I didn't know. I didn't even know what food I like, because I hadn't thought about that for years. I did what everybody else wanted, because children, right?
Yeah. The feeling piece is a whole nother topic that we could easily spend a lot of time on. I'm always asking my clients, when they are reflecting on the challenges that they're experiencing and what they want to shift, how did that make you feel? because we can learn a lot about ourselves and our beliefs and the things that are actually holding us back by recognizing what is consistently being triggered. What are those patterns that we keep recreating over and over and over again? And you'll start to notice similar themes.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely notice similar themes. And that's when you know, like, okay, I actually need to get to below this and start looking at, is it true? Where is it coming from? This is how I learned that, I used to talk a lot about self-limiting beliefs. And then one day I realized I'm limited by my mother's, my mother passed away earlier this year. And I have all kinds of limiting beliefs that were her limiting beliefs. And it's only in doing that reflection and that inner work that I went, actually, she was limited by that, and unknowingly and very innocently has given me that same limiting belief. So a lot of the limiting beliefs I had weren't even mine.
Well, that's the way it works, right? That's the way we're conditioned. So we learn from our parents, we learn from society, we learn from observation of everything that's happening around us. And the majority of our limiting beliefs are things that we've just sort of picked up on from other people and societal conditioning. And there's all of these conflicts too. So you have one belief that you've, acquired from here, and a competing belief that and now you're in conflict with yourself. And it's not until you do have that honest reflection and you recognize, wait a second, where did this come from? Is this even true? Do I need to continue doing this? No, I don't. And we can actually drop so many of those beliefs so quickly. People overcomplicate it. And I'm saying this as a professional who helps people work on their inner game and shift these things. We overcomplicate them to the point that we're not releasing them.
Yeah.
We're still so busy trying to figure it out that instead of just seeing, oh, that's absolutely absurd, I don't need to believe that, I don't want to believe that, and then just drop it. It can, in many cases, for many of our things, be that easy. Now, some, of course, are a little more sticky, and we do have to go through different processes and techniques. But if we're just honest with ourselves, wow, and what you said about being so busy, and I know a lot of high performers, myself included, we fill up our lives with so many things, and they are things that are important to us. But at some point we do have to take a step back. And I just had this conversation with a client yesterday. She's overwhelmed and busy and her schedule's too full. And I asked her, what is the reason that you agreed to take on all of these things? And she admitted it was because she wanted to feel the enjoyment of doing those things. And here she is feeling stressed when she even thinks about all of them. And that was a real aha moment, because it's like, wait a second, that's completely the opposite of why I agreed to do all of these things to begin with. And as business owners, we need to take a step back on a regular basis and evaluate, are we letting ourselves get off track?
Yes.
What is the reason that you're doing what you do? And so I love what you offer, because you bring so much more play back into the process of just living life. And being a business owner should not just be for the money. It should be because it's something that you absolutely love doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think a lot of times, when we, for example, I could fill up my day writing magazine articles and recording podcast episodes and doing all of those kind of things, because I'm hiding from the thing that I'm afraid of, which might be, I don't know, sales calls, or doing things live, or doing admin that I don't, MailChimp or something that, that is less comfortable. So I think when we get into using play, then it kind of frees us, and it kind of just lets things flow to a point. I do quite a lot of mirror work as well, which I absolutely love. Just, spending time in the mirror, asking those questions and really seeing ourselves, like really seeing ourselves. And that can be a fairly emotional thing, which again, so people will hide from it and they'll just kind of use the mirror for what they need it for, and then they hide from the things they don't want to see. So it's a really good analogy. But I think, when we were talking about baseball earlier, for example, okay, most children wouldn't see that they're going to be able to play for a professional team tomorrow, but they wouldn't see any limitations pre-programming in doing those things. They if you watch young children, they dance and they skip and they play, and yet when we're older, it's like, oh, how's that going to look if I skip down the road? And so now I kind of try and tune into, do I want to skip? Like, I'm not going to do it if I don't want to, but if I want to, I'm doing it. I just am. And what's interesting is when we do like movement classes and things to get into our body, even I do this, it's kind of like, oh, I should move this way. And I can hear myself like narrating or choreographing, as opposed to, but how does my body want to move? And how, that frees things, and that kind of releases our thoughts from having to be controlling and, warning us, and all of the things which are good things for us, right? Our imposter voice or our saboteur is there to warn us of danger. There's no danger if I'm moving to music. There's no danger that something bad is going to happen. So just letting that happen and then feeling that release, because there's no difference in our body between fear and excitement. We can choose. So if I'm about to go on stage, and this is why I'm so drawn to Cabaret, is because it terrifies me. And yet I choose to see it as excitement. I'm thrilled and I love it. It's like a roller coaster, right? That's why we go on roller coasters. You're at the top. There's only one thing that's going to happen. And are you scared or are you excited? And probably it's both, but it'll affect your experience by how you tune into it, whether you're terrified or whether you're screaming with joy.
Such a great conversation. Heather, how can our listeners connect with you?
So all things confidence through Cabaret, really. I Googled it the other day, and there's a lot. So I have a YouTube channel and a podcast, and I hang out a lot in my Facebook group on Confidence Through Cabaret Community is what we call it. And it's Instagram as well. I'm also on LinkedIn. So Heather Jean is what I use as my online name. That's my real name. So anywhere, confidencethroughcabaret.com is where I keep my masterclasses. That's where we do things like workshops around, chair dancing and, kind of play, as well as business masterclasses as well. So depends what you're looking for, really. But, jump into the Facebook community. I'm regularly doing body confidence webinars free online, because I love being online live with people and connecting with people. I adore that. It's my favorite. So Confidence Through Cabaret, all the socials, mostly Facebook.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather.
Such a pleasure.
And thank you to all of our listeners. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.